Your ideal client isn't going to hire you because of your certifications. She's not hiring you because of your fancy framework or your impressive bio. She's hiring you because your story makes her think, she really gets me. Get this, the same coach with the same offer and the same credentials can get scrolled past or hired. And the difference is one thing, her story. So if you've been wondering why you're posting consistently and nobody's paying any attention to you, why your engagement is low, why nobody's sliding into your DM to work with you, then this video is going to answer that question finally. But here's the part that many of us get wrong in the beginning of our coaching journey. The story you've been hiding because you think it's too embarrassing or too messy or too dramatic or not dramatic enough is the thing your ideal client has been waiting to hear. And as an introvert, it breaks my heart to hear that, but it is what it is. So I'm going to show you how and why today. Hey sis, if you're new here, welcome. My name is Monique Addison-Stinson and I am a Christian business coach, and I show Christian women over 40 how to package their skills into kingdom work and get paid for it over at businesschurchlife.com. If you've been here before, you already know how we get down over here. And if this is your first time, I hope you stick around because this is exactly the kind of conversation we have every single week. So let's get into it. The first time I told my story publicly, and I also mentioned I was an introvert, so I told the cute version, right? I had been fired from a temporary job. The boss who fired me didn't even happen to show up, child. He had somebody else, some random dude in the office to do it for him. And that person yelled at me because I had asked the question, wanting to know more. I wanted to know why was I being let go. And I got in the car after all that happened and I sat there for a while. And that was the moment that I realized that something I couldn't unsee really. And it was that corporate table was never built for me anyway. And I did a video on this and told the full story. But that's not the version I told the first time. The first time I posted about it, I said I left because who wants to say they were fired or let go, right? I didn't want to look bad. I didn't want anyone to look, to think less of me or to have some little gossip or tea on me. So I cleaned up the story. I made it more palatable for me. And that post got a few likes. And a couple of people said, I'm so sorry that happened to you. I had some people say, good for you for taking the leap. It was fine. It was nice. And it did absolutely nothing for my business. Nothing for my business. Then I got a coach myself, just like a lot of coaches. And that coach said that something I really didn't want to hear. She said that you need to tell your full story, not the cute version, but the whole story. The yelling, the temporary job, the boss who didn't show up, the car moment, all of it. Don't leave anything out. And I didn't want to do that, but I did it. And here's what happened. That post didn't just get likes. I got some DMs. I had women DMing me saying, oh my God, I went through something similar. I had women saying that I've tried other coaches before, but you seem to really understand what I'm going through. I would actually love to work with you. It was awesome. I couldn't believe that finally somebody was reaching out. So I got clients from that post. I got real paying clients, not because I had more certifications than other coaches in their feed, but because of my story resonated with them in a way that nobody else's story did. And that was the day I learned the truth about why your story matters more than credentials. It's the truth I'm going to give you right now. Here's what nobody told you when you were planning your coaching business. Information is everywhere. It is everywhere. AI gives information. Google gives information. The other 47 coaches in your niche give information. So if all you're doing is sharing information, you're competing in the worst possible game, the one where the lowest price provider wins. But here's what nobody else can give your ideal client: your specific lived experience, the thing you actually walked through, the specific moment you actually had, the way that you felt when you got in the car after being let go by your boss who didn't even bother to show up himself, right? That's not just information, that's resonance, and resonance is what converts. There's research on this, by the way, and people make buying decisions emotionally first and then justify that decision with logic. They're not buying your certification, sis. They're buying the feeling of being understood. And the only thing that creates that feeling is your story. So when a woman is scrolling and she sees a coach say, I help Christian women find clarity in their next chapter, she scrolls past because first of all, what does that even mean? When she sees a coach say, I spent 22 years in corporate before I realized God had been calling me to build something different or to step into my calling or to create a coaching business, that woman stops. Same coach, same offer. The difference is whether the story was attached. Your certifications get you taken seriously, but your story is what gets you hired. So how do you actually write this story that converts? Now, let me give you full disclosure before I share anything. I'm sharing what worked for me and what has worked and helped my clients. But I highly recommend Donald Miller's Story Brand books if you want to go even deeper on this. All right, so you use a 4-question framework, and this is the exact framework that's inside exercise 2 of your Get Clear workbook. Now, I've added a link to it in the description if you didn't grab it after watching our last video. So question 1 is, where were you stuck? Not I was unhappy, but set the specific scene. Were you working? What were you saying to yourself? What were you doing on Sunday night when you realized, oh Lord, it's Monday morning, I gotta go to this job I hate again? For me, it was the sitting in the car after being yelled at and let go. Realizing that corporate table was never built for me. I had felt that for years, but that was the moment, well, it really hit, okay? Question 2 is, what changed? The moment, the breaking point, the realization, the Tuesday afternoon when you couldn't take it anymore. Sometimes it's dramatic, like getting fired. Sometimes it's quiet, like the morning you woke up and you just knew. But just tell the truth about which one yours was. Just tell the truth and paint the picture. Question 3 is, where are you now? What does your life look like now that wouldn't have been possible from where you started? Not unfulfilled, but the specific thing. The Tuesday morning, you're sitting at your laptop helping a woman like you who had been yelled at in a temporary job. Okay, so tell the story. Paint the picture about what life is like now. And then question 4 is, who do you help now? Who recognizes herself in your story? That's your ideal client. So when you can answer those 4 questions in about 300 words, you've got an origin story. And an origin story is the most powerful sales asset you'll ever build. Trust me on this, because it sells without you having to sound salesy, which we all do not want. And just a quick reminder, if you haven't already, the Get Clear workbook is linked below this video, or it's in the show notes if you're listening to the Launch Your Coaching Ministry podcast. And exercise 2 is what walks you through writing your own origin story using this exact framework that I taught you, with pages so you can fill it out. And while you're down there grabbing the link, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and make sure you turn your notifications on so that you don't miss the next video in the series that we're doing. Again, subscribe. A lot of you are watching, but you haven't subscribed, so make sure you subscribe. It'll really help the channel out. Now listen, the thing you've been trying to hide is a thing that God's been preparing you to use. Every difficult chapter he walked you through, every hard season he brought you out of, every breakdown that turned into a breakthrough wasn't for you to lock it in your journal. It was for you to share with the woman behind you who's where you used to be. Paul didn't hide his story. He told everyone he met, really, that he used to persecute Christians. He led with the worst chapter of his life because he knew his testimony was the bridge between where someone else was and where God could take them. The woman with the issue of blood didn't hide what she'd been through. She pressed through the crowd anyway. Her story was the very thing that made her healing possible or impossible to ignore. Your testimony isn't your shame, it's your assignment. What you've been hiding is the thing she's been waiting to hear. So here's what we're doing this week. So first, open the Get Clear workbook and write your answers to the 4 questions. So don't try to make it perfect. Don't go in and edit. Just write. Just get it out there. You'll polish it up later, okay? The goal is to just get the raw material on the page. The second thing is you're going to write your origin story in 300 words or less using the answers that you just gathered. Now, this is the version that goes on your about page. It's going to be in your bio. It's going to be at the top of every conversation you have with your potential clients. It's going to be infused into your content that you post on social media. The framework keeps it tight, and tight stories convert. Long stories would just lose people. But again, they gotta be intriguing. They gotta say something and gotta grab their attention, which is why you tell your story. If you just posting long stuff, just be posting educational content, nobody's on social media for that. Okay, they're just not. Trust me, I know. These posts, long educational posts, people are there to be distracted. You go to YouTube for a long post, you turn it into a video, and this is where people go because they're literally searching for something to get help with. But on social media, they're just there to be distracted, and you have to interrupt their scroll. So if it is long, and I do post a long post sometimes, but it's a story. People love a good juicy story. Okay. Third is share one piece of your story this week. Okay. You don't have to share the whole thing, just one piece. Pick the question that scared you the most to answer and share that piece publicly, right? You can share it on LinkedIn. You can share it in your newsletter, Instagram, wherever you normally show up and wherever your ideal client shows up. Now, the first time you share is going to be the hardest. It gets easier though every time after that, but that first time is going to be such a struggle. And listen, I know exactly what you're thinking right now. What if people judge me? What if it's not impressive enough? What if it's oversharing, sis? The right people aren't going to judge you. The right people are going to read your story and say, that's me. The wrong people will scroll past. They won't even see it. They won't comment, or they will comment and it might be something stupid. Block and delete them fools. So here's a reframe I want you to walk away with today, okay? Your story isn't what you have to overcome to be taken seriously. Your story is what makes you worth being taken seriously. The right women aren't going to find you because of your perfect website or your impressive bio. They're going to find you because they read your story and said, that's me. And if she figured it out, maybe I can too. So stop hiding the very thing that's going to bring them to you. Now, if you want the workbook for everything that we've covered today, make sure you grab the Get Clear workbook. It's in the description. The 4-question framework is in there with some space for you to write out your entire story. And if you missed episode 1 in this series, I want you to go back and watch last week's episode. It is called How to Leave Corporate America and Start a Coaching Business Over 40. And I'll link it somewhere in the cards. It's where I introduce the 3 C's method, and I'll walk you through exercise 1, which is the authority inventory. You need to do that exercise before you do this one anyway. So go ahead, grab the workbook and go watch that video if you haven't already. And I'll just go see you over there.